Hello. Now today we're going to be exploring how to take a design idea, concept and expand it and make it into a bigger idea, and starting with a simple idea. So you've all designed your ranges, you have a concept that you're still tweaking and working with, but you've got that sort of thing. So colour is one of those things which is really important. But let's just explore the design first and our embroideries. We don't need. Okay, so let's start off with looking at a couple of very successful designs we've had from previous students. So this design here, this is a beautiful silk by Catherine. Not last year, but the year before. She won the Saracen Silk Award for her design. And it was truly stunning. It looked stunning on the catwalk. It looked stunning in real life. Now with this concept, Catherine, when we were discussing ideas on where she wanted to take it, and she wanted a floral design, and we wanted it to be modern so that it didn't look old-fashioned. So we wanted a modern design, but Catherine wasn't confident with drawing, but she was prepared to do the work. And so I suggested to her that perhaps we could get some flowers and dry them and press them, and we could explore doing a design this way. So she went away and she pressed some flowers, and then she started photographing them, and then we talked some more and she did some more pressing, and then she got some tulle and laid it over the top of her pressed flowers and sort of encased the flowers in some tulle and photographed it. And it made for a really effective photo. And from that, we were able to bring it into Photoshop and turn it into a true repeat. It was a beautiful design. Okay, going back a couple more years, we have Mimi that did this lovely design. Now with this one, Mimi drew all of the design. I'll just expand it out a little bit more so we can see a bit more of the design. So with this, she drew all the flowers and then went into Photoshop and added this gradient to it so it feels like it's got this real luster. And then she's put this sort of watermark background pattern into the design. And once again, this is on a silk georgette and she printed it. And it looked really stunning on the catwalk and really made a difference. So the main thing that I want you to take away from these two bits is that when you put the work in, whether you're drawing or you're going away and you're creating a collage, beautiful designs come from putting the work in and creativity, and you can see it in both of these. So someone that wasn't so confident drawing put the work in and did it a different way, and we ended up with something stunning. Someone that was confident with drawing went down and explored that avenue and ended up with something stunning. Okay, so now let's take it back to simple basic ideas. Okay, I have put together this pack. I worked on it all over the Christmas holidays to try and show you how you develop an idea into a bigger idea. So I have a local cafe that's 2 blocks away from me. It's called Sunday. It's a very nice cafe, quite young people there. Anyway, I often go in on a Friday morning and have a coffee with my husband and his exercise crew. And we sit there and we have our coffees. And so I was thinking about it one day, looking at the coffee and thinking, you know, even though it's often the same pattern, it sort of comes out looking different. It morphs into something else. So I thought, okay, I'll start taking photos. So here's the first sort of coffee, you know, a photo of a coffee I took, and then another coffee. Then this coffee, can you see on this coffee, I have had a sip from it here, and it's dragged the pattern over to the side, creating even more of a tulip sort of shape from that. Then a love heart type of coffee. Then I have a coffee where I'm almost at the bottom, and it really has this sort of tulip bulb sort of look. And then this one where I actually got to the bottom of the cup, created this really great little crackle design. So I kept photographing these things and drawing them, and I've been able to develop a bit of a pack here for you to have a look at. So here's where I start with this. I have my photo of my coffee. I draw it in a stylized way. So I've, you know, caught the essence of it, but then I've added some more dots. These dots represent the foam or the creamer on top of the coffee, the bubbles that we get. So you get the big bubbles every now and then. So I've put them in a stylized sort of way. So then we have that, and we just have it as a basic repeat. So this is where your first design starts. And to be honest, a lot of students don't want to go further than this. They want to draw one motive and stop there. But you need that to be your starting point. So the next thing is, if we have the design and we turn it upside down on itself, and we do this in an even pattern, we then have a nap, no nap. And so you can place your pattern pieces both directions. So this makes this fabric more economical. You'll be able to get more out of it. So this is something that you consider at the designing of the textile stage. You might want to do a drop, a half drop, so that it's not just so linear with all of them lining up in a row. Then when you start introducing a background colour, instantly it lifts a bit more, because otherwise at this stage it's looking very much like a lino print, but now it's starting to pop a little bit more with a nice complementary background colour. Then to that design, I have my motive, and you can see, so I have this motive here. I now have this motive, and can you see this little heart here in the centre? I've pulled it out and made it different shapes, sizes, sorry, not shapes. And then I have more foam bubbles that have different sizes to fill in. And I've really thought about how I can create a pattern that's bigger than just one motive and next one. So we've got this pattern, this repeat now being a bigger, and it starts to be more intriguing, drawing you in. Then I have my motive, but then I've gone back to the one where I'm almost at the bottom of the cup, and there's that little tulipy shape that's there. This is the tulipy shape where I've had a big sip and it's drawn it over to the side and it looks very floral. I've taken the center stem out of here and placed it over here, so I've got this almost floral motive, a group of icons going together. And then I've got dots to represent the foam once again. So we can see when you go from that initial design concept to here, design 5, you can see we've come a long way and we're creating quite a strong look, and it's starting to really look like a more complex design. Then I took a break from that and I went over to the bottom of my coffee cup, the crackle. Now the middle's a bit too big, so I took poetic license and reduced that size, and then used the concept and laid it out and just drew it. And I drew it in black pen. I didn't do any pencil work on this one. I thought I'm just going to commit to it and just do it neatly and cleanly from the word go. And you can see once I've done this, it almost has like a leopard print pattern, but it's actually representing the bottom of my coffee cup, which is really quite good. I then tried a second technique to this, which I refer to as a four-way flip, where I get the design, I vectorize it, and then I flip it. Now you can see they both come out quite differently, but this is quite harsh compared to the softness of this one. This can still be useful for sort of things, but I want to show you if you just want to get it done and cheat and be as quick as possible, it's not as effective. You need to do the work. So now I have my print, and I have put the coffee crackle behind it. So you can see I've layered and layered the different things about the coffee, and now we really do have a complex design. So after that, what's there to do? To explore scale. What does it look like smaller? What does it look at that size? And what does it look like bigger? Often when you're doing bigger, you're going to have to print it on bigger paper or tile it so that you can get an idea. Then we are supposed to do complementary designs that will go back with it, that you may have two different prints on a garment or a range that's telling the same story, but you don't want them all in the same fabric. So this was the sip from the side, and it looks very floral to me, so I've decided I would just create a very simple sort of 70s inspired tulip design out of that. And so then that was the end of that exploration of it, almost like a lino print in vector. So that's my illustrator. But what can we do now to take the idea in a different direction? So I have my design, my original hand drawing, and this time I've done watercolor. I've used the same techniques you learned with Michelle, and I've done watercolor. So this one is a two-directional fabric. And then I explored different ways of creating a bigger repeat. And you can see I've brought that motif again together. This one I've really created a tile repeat pattern that's really concentrated on that. Then I've explored different amounts of the different motifs and rearranged them. And then it's back to the simple idea, back to scale. Now the really important thing about when you're doing watercolor, even though I'm looking at scale at the end here, you really should think about scale at the beginning. And you should actually do, if you're thinking you might want it smaller, do a little bit bigger than you think you want, because then we can have the resolution, the quality of the image. Whereas if you try and stretch out an image that's smaller, you don't end up with a clear thing. Whereas if you've got a beautiful, clear, big image and you make it smaller, you have an even clearer image that's smaller. So you can see when you go from that original concept where I just have the vector drawing and here I have the watercolor, you know, it really has been a developmental sort of process here across the different things. Then to that, I have one last bit of design exploration here. And this one is a photo print. There's my hand holding a lilium. Now, I would recommend if you were going to do something like this and going to eventually put it on something like a black background, I would recommend that you have a black background when you're photographing. It makes the cutting in and editing really crisp and clean. But I wanted to show you how you can have a photo study where you can, I've just used the one photo really here to create this because I've done all this work and I'm just wanting to show you the concept and things like that. But if you're going to do a photo study, you'd want to take the photo from different angles, preferably take it outside where you've got lots of light. Make sure that the resolution is high and it's clear and a lot of that sort of things. So hopefully you can see from all of this how I took a simple idea like a morning cup of coffee and I expanded it into a very floral design. Now I could also, this particular photo is not mine, all the rest are. I could also explore the concept of steam. Steam would be my next thing that I would then explore and possibly think of as a layer behind my floral motifs, is think about how to do steam, and perhaps steam as a background that I do on its own as a watercolor could be a really interesting story to explore. So hopefully this is giving you some ideas on how to expand ideas. Can't wait to see it. Let's have some fun.